Do you hear that? Is that the sound of a major storm brewing in the job market? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to break down where I think the job market's heading the latter half of 2022 and into 2023. And listen closely because you're not going to want to miss this video. Hey everybody, it's Brian from Life After Layoff, and today I want to talk to you about whether or not there's a major storm cloud brewing on the job market horizon. And if you follow me on TikTok, you already have a basic idea of what I'm about to say, but I'm noticing a disturbing trend in the marketplace that I think everybody should be paying close attention to. Now, of course, given the channel's namesake, I do pay close attention to overall job market trends. And as you know, over the last 18 months, we've been in a pretty strong job seekers, I call it a buyer's market. Essentially, the job seekers have been in control for the most part over the last 18 months. We've been seeing record numbers of jobs open versus the amount of employees available. Certain industries have absolutely exploded, like tech and finance. And during this period, we've been seeing salaries and total compensation exploding. Really, when you look at it, employers over the last few decades have artificially suppressed wage growth, so this is only natural. And for the longest time, it's been an employer's job market where the pendulum swings one way, and then it drastically swung the other way. And I've broken that down in other videos, so I won't necessarily go through it in this video. But as the pendulum has now swung very far into the employee side, and that's honestly been a very refreshing pendulum swing, suddenly it seems like there is a major disruption to that where the pendulum has whipped back at least to neutral, if not going back the other way. And the reason why I noticed this is that I would go into my LinkedIn and I would see all these people suddenly announcing that they had been caught up in layoffs. The most prominent companies being Peloton, Carvana, Reef, and of course our favorite, Better.com. But even Netflix and PayPal have joined the fray. And that's not just it, but major companies in tech who are leading the pace in all of this hiring have suddenly slammed on the brakes on hiring and put hiring freezes in place. It got me thinking, like, what the heck's going on here? Because literally a minute ago, tech was the absolute hottest place to be. And now it seems that there's major weakness in the tech industry in general. But all the while, the stock market is starting to show some weakness. So it's got me paying attention. And of course, inflation is through the roof no matter where you live in the world. Here in the United States, food prices are skyrocketing and gas prices are skyrocketing, among other things. So it had me thinking, what's the implication of all these indicators in the market and how's that going to affect the job market long term? And is the tech industry's weakness tied to any of this stuff? Then I found a post on LinkedIn, and that's where it started to get a little serious. So I want to break this article down and share with you what I think this means for the average person who has a career. So this post was made by a person named Austin Smith. And full disclosure, I'm not connected to Austin Smith. I've actually not seen this firsthand. So there is a degree of hearsay with what I'm about to talk about. But using my intuition, it seems to resonate. So let's walk through what he says. He says, I need to get something off my chest. In general, I refrain from talking politics, especially making political posts. However, I need to say this. I own a small trucking company. Today, I filled up my truck to deliver products that will keep our country fed. I'm assuming he is shipping food or something along those lines. So when I filled up my truck, it cost me $1,149.50. This is one truck for 1 day of fuel. And he owns 3 trucks. So on 1 day of operation, it's costing me $3,448.50. And he's saying, yes, every single day, every single truck uses a full tank of gas. I'm honestly not a trucker, so I can't verify the economics of this, but it seems to make sense to me. So if you're a trucker and you have some direct experience with this, feel free to leave a comment and confirm whether or not this is accurate. But he says, my trucks generally run between 4 and 5 days a week, and we are just estimating on the low side as to say 5. So that's $17,242 in fuel. The last week was over $20,000 for 1 week, and I have to pay out of my pocket to try to not only keep my children fed, but those of my employees and our country. And he goes on to say, mark my words, we are on a downhill slide to the worst recession our country has ever seen. If you don't believe me, I implore you to do your research. Trucking companies are going under left and right, literally hundreds weekly. And if you're not aware of what you're wearing, of what you're eating, what you're living in, what you're driving, or what you're reading this on, everything was delivered by a truck. If something drastically doesn't change in the next few weeks or months, I promise you will see empty shelves everywhere you look. You'll see chaos as people fight for the basic necessities of everyday life, food, medicine, etc. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to notice the fuel prices. I mean, just drive down your street and look at your local gas station. Every time I drive by my gas station, it seems to go up by a quarter. So it got me to thinking about the basics of our food supply. When you look at a farmer, for example, they run their entire farm off of equipment that runs on diesel. Their tractors that plow the fields and harvest the crops are run off diesel. The trucks that they use to take their product to a distribution center or a manufacturer runs off of diesel. Then there's also trucks that take that food that's processed to your grocery store that's also run off diesel. In fact, there's nothing in your house that hasn't arrived there via a truck, a train, or a boat, or a combination thereof. And even if it did come from a train, they run off diesel fuel. And of course, these major container ships run off of fuel oil. So the entire supply chain is predicated on this reliance on fossil fuels. Think about these rising costs. As you look at the gas prices and look at diesel specifically, diesel is usually much higher than even your fuel price. Think about the implication to the supply chain when all of this added cost is going to eventually start to really hit the consumer. Prices for everything that you buy are going to skyrocket. Food prices are going to continue to skyrocket, and basic necessities are going to skyrocket. As prices skyrocket, what happens? Consumers start to consume less. And when consumers consume less, what happens? Companies have less revenue. And when companies have less revenue, they start to look at ways to save cost. And how do they do that? One of the first things that they look at is layoffs. So the implications for what's potentially coming down the pipeline is absolutely staggering. And I believe if we don't see a significant improvement in gas prices very soon, that we are going to experience an economic downturn, the likes of which we probably have never seen before. Now, the purpose of this video is not to be all gloom and doom, although I fully realize that it probably sounds that way. What I'm trying to do is give you a warning that you need to start really looking at getting your house in order. It would behoove you to start going through your expenses and figuring out things that are not critical that you can cut out. It would behoove you to start saving up money to weather the storm. It would behoove you to start figuring out ways to start generating income streams outside of a traditional job, because those are the things that are going to protect you. And if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly and I'm seeing the weakness in the market, I'm not sure how much time we have. Could be months, could be a year. All I know is that I'm taking the necessary steps now to start protecting my family. And I think you should do the same. Listen, I'm not an economist, and I sure hope that I'm wrong. And some people are asking a question, well, how bad do you think it could be? Could it be as bad as we saw in 2020? And unfortunately, I think it's going to be a lot worse than 2020. I think it's going to be a lot worse than 2008. And I fully realize that we are well overdue for a market correction, but this one just feels different. I really hope that I'm wrong, that I'm reading this completely incorrectly, and I'll be happy to eat crow. But I do think that it's worth taking this warning seriously and starting to get your house in order. And if you're somebody that's unemployed, got caught up in a recent layoff, or you're in an industry that's particularly vulnerable, now is the time to start taking proactive steps to get into the right position to weather this storm. Essentially, don't wait till it's too late to start taking action. It could be something as simple as looking at your budget and figuring out ways to cut out extra wasteful spending. If you're somebody that needs more help, of course, that's something that I specialize in. I've got a website and I've got training courses and all that stuff. You could check that all out if you look through my links in my bio. But I implore you to take this seriously, do your own research, and come to your own conclusion. But don't wait till it's too late to take action. I apologize about the somber nature of this video. However, I do think it was important enough that I bring it up to you and you do with it what you will. As always, I appreciate you watching. I'm going to try to do some more positive, upbeat videos after this one, I promise you. But until then, we'll see you on the next one.